Hello, today I'm going to be talking about the topics that I chose from chapter 1. So I first chose discuss one or more of the traditional reasons why teachers assess students. And then I'm also going to be discussing the key findings of what you learn from reading. What do classroom teachers really need to know about assessment? So first I'm going to talk about the traditional reasons. So I found to determine student status, to monitor students' progress, to assign grades to students, and to determine instructional effectiveness. Now, I chose to talk about to determine student status and to monitor students' progress. So the first one was to determine student status. I found that teachers need to determine what students already know and can do. This information helps us guide instruction more effectively. For example, as stated in the book on page 15, if Jamie is already proficient in solving simultaneous equations, it's a waste of Jamie's time to make him plow through practice piles of such equations. This quote highlights an important point as students are learning. In my opinion, I think that requiring students to repeatedly practice concepts they've already mastered can place unnecessary strain on their cognitive load. Ultimately, if the teachers can assess what students know, they can pay more attention to certain topics the students are struggling with. I also did to monitor students' progress because I think that's super important. I learned that classroom assessments provide teachers with valuable evidence to make informed instructional decisions. So as noted on page 17, another way of thinking about this is that it positions teachers to use the results of classroom tests as part of formative assessments. These formative assessments enable teachers to adjust and tailor their instruction to better meet students' needs. Whereas summative assessments help teachers evaluate how well they retain that information and across multiple lessons and how well they retained it. Okay, so those were the traditional reasons. So now I'm going to talk about the key findings I found from what do classroom teachers really need to know about assessment. So first I'm going to talk about how to create assessment instruments, and I'm going to go into using assessment instruments constructed by others. So the ones that I found were how to create assessment instruments, using assessment instruments constructed by others, and planning instruction based on instructionally illuminating assessments. So first, let's talk about creating assessment instruments. So I think it's important as teachers, it is essential for us to understand how to create effective assessment instruments. As stated on page 27, a wide variety of assessment instruments can be used as a part of your day-to-day classroom instruction. To choose and use these tools effectively, we must pay attention to our students' attitudes towards the subjects we teach. By doing so, we can develop assessment strategies that not only align with instruction, but also accurately measure student achievement. So if we know how to use these instruments, we can use them with our students in our classrooms. The second one I chose to talk about with this key finds were using assessment instruments constructed by others. So this may involve using assessment tools created by our colleagues or relying on large-scale instruments such as district or statewide testing. In some cases, we may need to evaluate the quality and appropriateness of these assessments. Why? I found a quote that really goes along with this. As noted on page 27, if you find these tests to be inadequate, you have two options. One, you can learn about the problems or flaws with these tests and explain to others or the parents or administrators why these are inappropriate or inadequate for the students. Or you can get involved in educator organizations that are willing to help improve or change these tests with more appropriate options. So that's also something you can do. So these are my key findings on chapter 1 for this, and I hope you enjoyed.